We're going to first cover a short review, maybe 4 minutes, on what we talked about up until now. I'll remind you again, always pay attention to the bias of your presenters. Shelley and my bias comes from how we get paid and what we do. Shelley's my partner at the Founders Group, and she's a COO over all 3 brands. Southern California Institute produces over 200 programs a year on legal, financial, and tax planning and counseling. Those programs are as short as an hour, as long as 5 days. And they're 75% to the industries and 25% to when the industry is asked to present to their clients. Founders Group is our value acceleration firm. We help businesses prepare for their transition, whether they're transitioning to their family, their employees who are like their family, or a third party, whether they do it in all or in part, in other words, some chips off the table or all, or now or in the future. And then Struzari Mancini, the firm that started it all. The other 2 firms, Southern California Institute and Founders Group, are over 20 years old, Struzari Mancini over 25, where we help successful families and business owners, A, get to the heart of how the matters, and B, resolve messes in 3 areas: integrated tax and estate planning, business succession planning, and family governance counseling, or family business conflict. Can you, in less than 2 minutes, explain the gravity of what you're able to help clients with? That's why we share this, and to give you our bias. Next. We talked about anatomy of choice, math, and the advanced strategies. So, I'm sorry, Shelley. The anatomy of choice was a short conversation of saying, like EPI's 3 gates, is there not something before that that causes a client to yes? Whether you're teaching in large groups or having one-on-one conversation with clients, then you have a 5-point conversation with 13 questions, then an online tool to get to the heart of things for a client, where during the tool they think, oh my God, I've got to hire you. And then a list of things to talk to you about that you get to that drive them to, yep, let's go to the triggering event. Next, please. It is the stuff before the value acceleration methodology that attracts and engages a client to say yes to this stuff, which we talked about more thoroughly in that first presentation around these conversations of the 5 limitations to progress, which, as Shelley would say, is a much deeper conversation and different than your competitors are having. Next, please. And it gave you a way to download a tool that the client could download. They could take in 5 to 10 minutes, and then you'd have this list of what's going on in their soul and their ability to say, I need your help in these areas beyond the technical side. Next, please. We talked about the math. Most business owners would tell Shelley, I don't want to sell my business. And the reason is math. I'm getting X out of the business every year in salary plus Y in benefits for Z. If I go to sell it, by the time I get hit in due diligence, I get hit in the cost of sale, and I get hit in taxes, I'm going to get half to 2/3 of X invested, and I'm not going to make as much money as I did. My kids won't make as much, and we won't make as much. So you'll see after tax planning and after planning for the business, you can end up increasing the bucket they get so the math works out. So that conversation was about the simple math to cause the client to say, yes, you get me. Next, please. And the presentation before this was over the, this was the 70%, top 70% of the legal, financial, and tax strategies, organized under your financial planning goals. It, according to our friend Simon Singer's language, is about timing, combining, and sequencing of them. And we showed you that. We talked about how to do it. We gave you a couple of case studies of 2 partners selling and what they considered, and also a design book, how you would show a client, here's all you save if you work with us, here's your cash flow after. So with all that, it's the fork in the road. At what point in the conversation do you include another firm on a combined process, or do you use another firm's process once you're into that introductory visit? So now we're at value acceleration, Shelley.
Yeah. So, as we were coming up with this series, really, if you're a CEPA, a certified exit planning advisor, and you're a part of EPI, a lot of the conversation is around this subject that we're about ready to talk about, the value acceleration piece of it. Their whole process is called the value acceleration methodology. For us in our world, because we have different entities and we spend a lot of time on the pre-engagement side of things. There's a lot of conversations that come up either through other advisors and professionals or through conversations with business owners that are driving actual business succession planning. It doesn't have to be just the value acceleration work. That's not what's always attractive to a client. Maybe they want to talk about tax savings. Maybe they don't understand the math around their decision and what's going to drive their decision. Maybe they don't understand what's really going on in their gut. Maybe they need more clarity to really understand better. So we thought it was important to say, look, there's a lot of conversations around business succession planning, and you need a whole set of tools. And sometimes you need a great collaborative team, right? That can come in with these different specialties. So right now we're going to talk about the actual value acceleration work. And then as our last one, we're going to talk about family business conflict and how that can drive business succession. So here's where we are in our process. We've covered the anatomy of choice, and that's the pre-engagement, the review and enhancement design, we didn't talk about as one that drives the conversations. This is the whole discovery, the review and enhancement design. Not that we're overlooking it, but it's what drives us to get to the value acceleration, which is what we call the actual enhancement initiative. So this is doing the work on the business. It talks about the 5 transition goals. What are the potential enhancement initiatives that could come up when you do those assessments and the valuation and those sort of things? And so for us, we talk about goals. These are the 5 goals: increasing profitability and net cash flow, increasing enterprise value, understanding your choices for a business transition, making sure that your personal and business goals are aligned, right? That's what a lot of that tax planning and charitable gift planning and all those things are included. And then the alignment of the owner, the team, and the family, and that's where some of that conflict can come in. So talking about all 5 goals, and then what are the things, potential enhancement initiatives that can drive up that value? What are those enhancement initiatives that might be able to take place in a business to help achieve those goals? And that's what you see here in the white. As a reminder, we here at Founders Group, we're very focused on just the business succession planning, helping them increase that value. So we don't do any of the things that are listed here in that bottom right corner. This is not about financial, legal, tax, none of that. This is where we are on the value acceleration methodology as well. We're right there in that middle where we're preparing to be able to help make that decision. So value acceleration is actually the result of implementing enhancement initiatives, right? If you implement these initiatives, it will increase the value of the business. To be able to identify what those enhancement initiatives are, you've got to do an evaluation of those assessments that we've done in that first engagement, right? So we've done business attractiveness and readiness assessments. We've done personal and financial. We've done the business calculated valuation, or maybe even a certified valuation. So we've combined all of the assessments with the valuation to identify that punch list of what are the things that need to be fixed in the business. They're going to have the biggest impact on the value. So what can we do that is going to have the biggest impact on that value over the next year based on what the owner's primary transition goals are, right? So that's what drives value acceleration, is identifying the enhancement initiatives. So first, let's talk just a little bit about the valuation and the multiple. That projects a whole range of value based on future performance. So EBITDA increases and multiple increases. EBITDA is driven by operational and financial enhancement initiatives, so more tactical. And then the multiple increases by de-risking and doing some strategic and operational initiatives. So they're both driven differently.
From a strict math point of view, I will say business owners concentrate on EBITDA because they think the multiple is fairly standard, and they miss the fact that the multiple is the bigger driver to value than EBITDA is.
Absolutely.
If they work really hard and increase their gross and decrease their costs, they might get EBITDA to move 10, 20, 10, 15%, 20%. But if they work on their business to de-risk it, they can move the needle 25, 30, 50, maybe even
A lot.
100%.
Yeah.
And therefore, if these two numbers are multiplied together, this EBITDA number might increase it by 10, 20%, but the multiple number might increase it by 25, 30, 50, 100%. So it's this multiple number that they don't know how to work with that you and Founders Group and EPI do. So that's the difference. Sorry, Shelf.
It's okay. We've got a couple of examples. So this is an actual client of ours that we worked with last year. The total company value was 4.2. There's two owners. One owns 51 just because he was a vet. And then based on their normalized EBITDA of 448, and then a multiple of 9.46, which is an incredibly high multiple. The market has seen really high multiples over the past couple of years. Joe, you kind of think that's going to slow down a little bit, right?
Yeah, our multiples used to be 4 to 7 on many industries. For God's sakes, we sold some companies a 15 multiple a year and a half ago because stupid money was coming and other people's money. That's going to be settling down this year again.
Yeah. Anyways, fairly small company, but we're going to show you how much this can affect them. So EBITDA stays, in this example, the EBITDA stays constant, but the multiple increases. So if they go from a 9.46 multiple to an 11.5, that value now is from 4.2 to 5.1. So $1 million just by the multiple moving up a little bit. None of the numbers change.
Now,
Even
for a small sale like this,
$1 million.
an extra $1 million extra is the world to a client.
Absolutely.
If you were to put a zero on each one of these, 10 million more is the world to a client.
Yeah.
So it's a lot that can move.
So what happens when EBITDA increases and the multiple increases, right? So now the EBITDA is at 850,000. So we've done a lot of work on the business. That multiple is 11.5. We're looking at increasing the business from, what was it, 4.2 to 9.7. So double, literally double, went from a 4 million business to almost a $10 million business by working on both sides, both the tangible and the intangibles, and spending some time working on that business, just a year or two sometimes, right? So that is what is called value creation. This is the whole thing around value acceleration, is working on both sides of this number. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how to dig into that. You've got to tie together there's a lot of confusion, I think, in the marketplace about the business assessments and the business valuation. They're very different things. The business attractiveness and readiness assessments are a whole lot of questions with the owner to get to know them, as well as a lot of the intangible stuff. These are the multiple driver type questions, not necessarily the EBIT, although that's in there too. But the attractiveness and readiness assessments are a really deep dive into the understanding of all of the workings of the business. You got to capture all of the strengths, the opportunities, and the gaps from those reports, as well as the valuation and the multiple that are taken from the valuation reports to create some benchmark value, right? So we're taking all of the strengths, opportunities, and gaps from the assessments and the valuations to create a list of prioritized enhancement initiatives. We do that by using a business executive summary, because it's a lot of reports, right? These assessments and the valuation, we're talking, hundreds of pages of reports. So we cull it all down into a business executive summary that really focuses on where they should be focused, what are those strengths, but more importantly, what are the opportunities and where are the gaps between the different owners and how they scored themselves in particular areas. So we're looking for the potential areas of conflict as well there. So right with that business executive summary is we're going to identify the enhancement initiatives and help prioritize them. So this is buy-in with all of the owners. This is us partnering with the owners. I'm going to show you a little bit more about how we do that. This is just an example of that business executive summary. This is us culling everything down. So we have a beautiful cover page. And then this is like 9 or 10 pages of a business executive summary that explains everything. It shows those charts that I showed you, the EBITDA moving, and then the EBITDA and the multiple moving, and what happens to that and how it creates value. And then we dig into the results from the business attractiveness and readiness and valuations. And you can see we've got the red, yellow, green scoring there at the bottom. So we're putting everything into, green. Obviously, we don't need to focus on. Yellow, we probably need to focus on. Red, we definitely need to focus on. So this is how it's helping us narrow down those areas within the business. And then we're going to start to highlight everything, the business readiness, and then the business attractiveness, and we're going to summarize those areas. We're going to get to this. So what we're wanting to do is to develop this enhancement initiative plan, or these two plans in this particular case, because there were both business initiatives and personal initiatives. And you're going to find that's often the case as you go through those assessments. Because we're looking out for the whole collaborative team as we go through these as well. We know the advisors are looking for opportunity, and we're going to help to try to highlight those, of course, when it's appropriate for the client. So we're going to sit down together with the client as we go through that business executive summary and design this 90-day plan together. So this is sitting down together to say, here's what we found, and here are the things we think you should focus on. What do you want to do? And develop this initiative plan together. So in this example, you can see we had 3 initiatives for both business and personal. So what's next? Here's the actual process. So the whole idea of this second engagement for us, and that is to manage these enhancement initiatives. We got to make sure that we're following this process to make sure that they actually happen. It's about holding the owner and their team accountable. So you want to make sure that you have benchmarking along the way. You want to make sure that the meetings and sessions are being run the same way every time, that they're completely organized, that the teams are communicating with each other around each initiative, and just overall developing a timeline and holding everyone accountable to it. So the enhancement initiative, the management of the enhancement initiatives are massive, because we got to keep everyone on the same page, and we got to make sure that they're all moving. So facilitation, this means facilitation of the initiatives versus implementation of the initiatives. If you are doing value acceleration work with a business owner, sometimes you might just be facilitating and helping them make those initiatives happen. And sometimes, like this says, you might be rolling up your sleeves and get to work, right? So do you want to do the actual value acceleration work within the business? This is what we do inside Founders Group. Once we go through that review and enhancement design and we design their plan, we actually hold them accountable, make these enhancement initiatives happen. This is the value acceleration work. We work with a lot of other professionals in the industry who don't have the time to do this part, and they want to call us in as their team to help them make these initiatives happen. So that's what we're doing here. And this slide is intended to show you there's different levels of enhancement initiatives as far as what our involvement is, or external resources, or their own internal team. There's a whole variety of different types. The sessions, typically there are 10 sessions over that 90 days, 10 whole meetings over 90 days. The business owner is in 4 of those sessions. The sessions 2, 4, 7, and 9 are only update meetings and homework assignments with the team. So this is saying go off and do it. Sessions 3 and 6 are troubleshooting And then if you have to, you're having some additional meetings. So you can see we have a plan as we go in. We know, look, we're going to have 10 sessions and this is what they're going to look like. So they love that part. They want to have a plan moving in. The sessions identify the issues really as quickly as possible. There's opportunity for remediation. They assure accountability, which is a huge piece of it, and the communication, which is typically missing when you go off and do projects. You assign teams to go off and do projects. There's not people coming back together and checking in on that progress. That's our job, to manage these. The action plan is developed and summarized with a momentum dashboard tool, which I'll show you here in just a second. Conducting the enhancement initiative sessions, this is just our big, basically big spreadsheet that keeps track of it all. Easy enough to develop on your own or share with someone else, but you got to have a way to manage it. This is the momentum dashboard that we created as a part of this process, just to keep everybody on track and to use at, I think it was 4 of those meetings, that of the 10 over the 90 days, we're using this dashboard to check in and say, look, these are the things that we still have going on. These are the strategic byproducts that have come up as we've gone through these meetings. And here's where we are on each initiative. This is the dashboard of initiatives. So it's just a nice way to kind of summarize. So if you are doing value acceleration work, you need some sort of form, you need some sort of check-in, and you need something that just shows it all in a snapshot so people aren't trying to figure out massive spreadsheets and that sort of thing. And it's nice, right? It shows that you're very on top of it and very organized. We also do benchmarking. So once we've finished all of those 90-day sprints, so we're done, right? We've gone through the momentum dashboards. We've completed the 90-day sprints that we had planned out. Now we're going to do some benchmarking and say, all right, we're done. Here's where the value was when we started, and here's where it is now. We're going to do another evaluation. We're going to review where we started with each initiative and where we ended up, in order to now say, okay, Mr. Owner, how do you now feel about the business, right? This has probably been over the last year or two. We've done a lot of work on the business. Do you want to continue to work on the business some more, or do you want to move to a decision? Is it time to make a decision? And what does that decision look like? You could keep and grow your business. That's fine with us. Maybe you fall back in love with your business. Maybe it's no more the cause of pain like it used to be, right? So if we've done our job well, we've got a leadership team in place, the owner has more time and more money, and they don't feel as the need or the necessity to get out like they did before. Or there's something else driving it and they're ready for that transition. They're ready to get out, or they're ready to move it to the next generation. So
what you're noticing in the times that we spent so far, and Shelley's really got over well, is that yes, there are technical things to do, but how you interact with the client to have them notice that you're doing this and how you're moving the needle, how you have them see your progress, how you include them and partner with them, how they're building their next engagement with you, how they're becoming more empowered, the forms by which or reports you're showing them that have them have a level of confidence, is value acceleration. It's just not the legal, financial, and tax technical that we do. It isn't just about fixing supply chain problems, fixing them, or employee problems, or decentralizing, or client concentration, et cetera. It's how do you interact with that client about this, so they not only see the moving of the needle, but they feel it themselves to be able to continue to engage you and help the eventual sale, and recommend others to you because you're so professional about it. Sorry,
yeah.
Shelley.
That's great. Thanks, Joe. So in review, really, value acceleration, like we said, is about increasing not only the EBITDA, but also the multiple, and it's doing the work to make those happen. So you're looking at the tangible side, you're looking at the intangible side, you're doing lots of assessment and lots of valuation, and you're combining all of that content to come up with the initiatives that are going to actually achieve those goals. So value creation is driving that EBITDA from the technical or the numbers side, if you will, to the intangible side on the multiples. It's having a beautiful set of reports, right? This is just one of ours, but this is our business executive summary that brings it all together. It says, here we go. Here's your red, yellow, and green areas, and this is what we think you need to do. So how do you have a way to summarize it all to make it easy to understand? And then doing that benchmarking.
And of course, for that summary, Shelley, you were talking about,
Uh-huh.
is to a beautifully customized thick document that were about how you did a mouse type thing, or in Founders Group, how we do our assessment tools, to give them a great report of what they said, what we felt about it, and what evaluation would that blend together to say, these are the differences in business readiness, business attractiveness, and then in your personal financial readiness, to have that report that's a summary in the front, but they can go deeper. And of course, like you're mentioning here, how do you benchmark? How do you show them along the way what you're affecting and that you're really moving the needle and taking care of what they're talking about?
Got to tell them what you've accomplished, right? So that summarizes value acceleration for us. Of course, there's a ton more content. It's hard to cover in just a short time, but we are ready to move on now, Joe, to the...
And we'll do more of that when we'll see you at the summit. So
Yeah.
see you guys there.